onto Counter-Strike 1.6, Counter-Strike Source, etc., etc. And tonight we have Karn and Heaton, two of the biggest legends of Counter-Strike 1.6. They're behind each team tonight. Heaton with NiP, obviously, and Karn is managing Fnatic. For you, who's been watching their careers for 10 years, how excited are you for seeing them lead each of those teams here tonight in a match for $100,000?
I mean, again, we talked about how this thing could have been fake scripted, right? I mean, again, as much as I would love to see Complexity on that stage tonight as an American, this couldn't be better. Two legends in their own right of Counter-Strike, now one already running a legendary Counter-Strike Go team, and Fnatic and Karn wanting to be a legendary team, or considered one. Again, like the very first interview I ever did in esports was with SK, Heaton, BDS's team, way back in the day. So to see him actively involved in a much bigger role, management, business-wise, again, like we always complain about the suits coming into our world and kind of screwing up our sports. Well, these are our suits, right? And they're growing their organizations in a really healthy way. So, like, again, kid in the candy store to watch the legends and the new legends. And by the way, we do know there were some technical issues in the big room. What Semler and Corey said was it's absolutely freaking amazing in there. It's loud as hell. They're really excited. And, you know, you'll definitely be hearing from more of them tonight.
All right, we're going to take a look at some footage here on how the teams made their way into this final match.
Yeah, so we'll catch everyone up here. We had the Fnatic team played against the surprise team, Kenny S, the all-star leading this reclusive team. People didn't expect much from them, okay, but actually this team gave them all they could handle. They won Inferno, they've been good on Inferno the whole time this map. You'll see it, I'll talk through the series and you can just keep watching the clips, guys. Later on, they actually, believe it or not, lost Dust 2 to Reclusive, so then people are like, whoa, a Reclusive good, a Fnatic falling here. Because in this tournament, until the semi-final that Fnatic rocked 2-0, every series was 2-1. That was the level of play we were seeing here. The third map, they got it done. They won on Train 16-10. After this, you'll see they went on to the semi-final. This was the only time we ever had, I wonder what music that is playing on stream there.
What song is that?
We only had, the only 2-0 series of the whole tournament was actually the Americans. We thought they were going to do so well. No, Complexity, they got crushed, I'm afraid. First map, 16-7. If we're looking really when the game was won, it was won at about something like 14 or 15-1 or 2. The last few was all like a victory lap waiting for the win, and then it only got worse on Mirage. I'm afraid on Mirage, the polite way to say it is they got completely dumpstered. And so the Americans were afraid of Mirage. They were right to be afraid of Mirage, maybe a premonition of what might to come. And so that was Fnatic's road to the final. Now you'll notice there, okay, they didn't really have to beat any top tier teams. They actually got, unbelievably, thanks to Complexity doing them a favor, they got this run where somehow they were the favorites all the way. Well, that ends today. Because now they're facing who now we're going to have to call again the best team ever. And so I think at some point we'll see an interview package of them, and back to you, I think.
Yeah, we're going to continue with some more information here about the lineup for Fnatic once this clip here ends. There's still some action here going on from the match against Complexity, which came down to the second map, on Mirage. And here are the lineups. Thorin, take us through it, please.
Okay, so, I mean, I gave you a little bit of history on Epsilon because that's what you're going to need to know first. So Pronax is the new man, forget him for now. All the others were in this final at DreamHack Summer. They were in the final the day before at the Swedish Masters Cup. They've been in the final, they've played NiP twice already. Now they're playing them a third time. You have to wonder what's going through their minds. Well, the new man, he wasn't there, so maybe he can bring a fresh perspective. Maybe he's not worried about them. Maybe he thinks, oh, I know what you guys need, and that's why that's going to be our secret weapon. Ninjas and Pajamas are going to think it's the same team I played before, I beat him before, I crushed them last time. It'll be the same this time. Maybe not. We've got JW here, the AWPer. We saw some great action from him against Complexity. He was on fire. Flusher, usually we're thinking of these as the stars, Schneider and JW. Flusher was carrying against Complexity for a while there. He was just shutting them down completely. Devil Walk, we've heard him on camera a lot. He's a very personable guy, quite a funny guy. What's interesting is, earlier in the tournament, he was kind of being a bit self-effacing, saying, you know, maybe we're going to lose, we're not so good or whatever. But I asked him, you know, how can you have a chance in the final? He was telling me, listen, I'm very confident. I'm even going to take my trousers off if I win. You know, but maybe he's an exhibitionist. Maybe he really wants to do that. We've got Pronax here. I mentioned before, the in-game leader. I think a lot rests on his shoulders because as the one who wasn't here, if the result goes really well, not only is he the new man, but he'll kind of get a lot of the credit of being the architect of a team who could beat NiP.
All right, we're going to go back up to the Dream Arena for a quick chat here with Devil Walk.
So loud.
Team in this final is NiP, who famously went up 87-0 in map wins after Counter-Strike Go was published just over a year ago. They were in a little bit of a slump, if you could even call it that, but now in this tournament they seem to be better than ever, Thorin.
Yeah, the key thing is when we say a slump, we mean the best team in the world at the time was beating them. Like, even though they weren't making the finals or whatever, that's because they'd meet them in the semifinals, okay? So it's not like other people were beating them as well, and they're like, oh, we don't know what to do. They had one team to figure out, they figured them out at this tournament. So NiP comes in here, arguably as strong as they've been in the last 3-4 months, and they're facing a team they're going to be very confident against.
How did you see the semifinals against Verigames for NiP? What went differently for them?
I mean, I could tell just from a little bit of watching it, but then it was confirmed in the interviews. What they changed was, before, I don't think they believed that Verigames had the formula to beat them. I think they thought, okay, we lost once, next time we'll get them. We lost again, okay, maybe we're under the weather playing-wise, or, you know, can we get the old formula? Then they've realized, no, Verigames have taken the game to a new level. So how do we get there? Okay, we take a bit of what Verigames have got. We have some anti-strats now. Okay, yeah, we have this loose play style where we're really good. But you know what? If we add a little bit of what they've got, that can be like the antidote to that.
And we heard that from Exist in the post-game interview.
Yeah. That was one of the key rounds that they turned in the third map.
Exactly.
That could have been for the Verigames guys. It should have been their chance to run it up, but this little tweak, this anti-eco that they did, or this eco round rather, that they turned into a win, really allowed them to, on paper, crush Verigames. And really, I think that broke the Verigames guys a bit.
What do you think the attitude is for Fnatic coming into this matchup with NiP? They've lost to them before. Yeah. Do they sit down and sort of feel like this is going to be an uphill battle all the way? Or do they just enjoy being the underdog with no pressure, and NiP has this huge camera crew following them around? They're a reality series now. I'm sure they're going to be on even more billboards anytime soon. How does that figure into it, do you think?
I really hope they're not a team who can be happy with second place. Because listen, you get into that kind of situation and you've already lost before you play. They have to really think to themselves. I think actually Devil Walk, that might not have sounded like the most bravado or the most cockiness, but it sounded to me like he thought to himself, okay, listen, you thrashed us last time. We thought we'd got you the first time. You thrashed us the next day. But guess what? You were the best team in the world. You were real pros. I'm in Fnatic now. I'm a real pro. I'm flying around the world. Okay, now I'm meeting you on even terms the first time, okay? You think you know me. You don't. I'm a different team. I crush complexity. They're the only people to score a 2-0 win in this series. NiP didn't do that against LGB, a worse Swedish team. So there are factors there, even for a team like Fnatic, where they can see holes where, listen, if that team can do it, who's to say we can't do it?
Scoots, you were famously inobjective in the whole semi-final affair there against Complexity.
Yeah, sure I was, sure.
How do you feel about the two teams now as they square off? Do you feel resentment towards Fnatic for knocking out your countrymen? Or
No. I mean, obviously it would have been jubilation if it would have been an upset. There's no doubt about it. So, and again, I hope Jason Lake and his entire staff and even the players of Complexity realize that fourth place, it's something this big when it's a new game to everybody. You know, we used to get really excited at the heyday when we would get into the top and get into the fourth and get into the finals. So they actually did pretty well. Yeah, they had a really, really, really bad day of CS today. There's no doubt about that. You can't bullshit that, right? But fourth place, not bad. You know, they have a lot of stuff to work on, consistency. They have to travel a lot. So again, I think there's still a positive out of this for North America. And again, like the land of the Swedes, what more appropriate to have two Swedish teams knocking heads tonight?
All right, I think we're going to have a highlight clip of NiP up here on our big screen.
Yep. NiP, like I said, starting off in the quarterfinals here, facing LGB. This should have been, run-of-the-mill for NiP. They should have just crushed them on every map. But again, those domestic matchups, they're the killers. Because these teams, they're looking at you all day. You've got the target on your back. And while you're not even aware that they're there, they're plotting what would happen if I played NiP. Well, we saw this super pug, LGB. They were doing really well because actually the first map, believe it or not, Dust 2, we're used to seeing them NiP crush on it. No, LGB won Dust 2. Now LGB, they went up on their CT side 9-6. They were thinking, okay, maybe we can take NiP on their best map. And then NiP said, okay, we'll switch to CT side. And I think we've done this before, guys. Crushed them 10-0. And then any momentum that they took from the first map, like, oh, we're up 1-0. They quickly had to realize, okay, we're going to a third map against NiP here. The third map would end up being Inferno, and NiP convincingly took it, 16-7. Good that they took it convincingly, because then it makes it less of a case of like, oh, you had a close game. Yeah, you had one close game, and then you kind of showed your class. You showed again, no, now we know they're the best team in the world. We're still up there. No one's really going to beat us, except maybe Very Games. After that series, we went into a semi-final against the aforementioned Very Games. This will play out a bit, but I'll just get to this. Okay, so against Very Games, I wanted it to be an epic game. It's the game I've been looking for all year. In many ways, it's the game that had to be decided at this tournament. If either team had won and not faced each other, there'd always have been that question, oh, you got lucky because they beat you. We'd have beaten you if we'd have gone there. No. They took Very Games head on. And in the first game, Dust 2. Now, NiP took this narrowly. Again, we knew just from the way this was going to be a real series. They took this narrowly. A lot of highlights for a lot of people. Get Right still with the auto sniper doing great work. The second map ended up being Inferno. And if this was a narrow loss and Very Games would have been broken by that, no. Very Games came back very composed. They just ran through them on Inferno. They put up a 16-6 game, and this is crucial because we're going to see Inferno in this series. We're going to see Dust 2 in this series. So these are maps that you want to be thinking about how these teams performed on before. The third map would actually end up being Nuke. And in the end, on paper, it looks like NiP crushed it 16-5. Very Games were really in it, but they were in it in terms of opportunities. They couldn't convert those opportunities.
All right, and as they've moved on into the final match, we are going to take a look at the lineup for NiP. Everybody knows NiP, of course, but you can just pull us through all of the stars. It feels like there are 5 stars on this team.
I mean, I'll give you kind of a rundown of how people were in this tournament. Coming into it, Get Right was the big question mark because is he the best player in the world? He can be the best player in the world. Was he coming into this tournament? I think so far he's definitely a candidate for MVP of the whole tournament. He's been what they needed. At the key match, he's stepped his level up. He's gotten the frags. He's had his crazy pistol rounds, winning them by himself. Forrest, he's actually kind of taken a page out of Get Right's book in the past. When Get Right stepped down in level a bit, he was consistent. He was the one keeping them in games. He's played well this tournament. Fiflaren, he's kind of been typical Fiflaren sometimes, who gets all the criticism. But I've noticed each time that happens, he's responded with a game, either in the same series or later on that day, where it makes you think, no, I can see the value of this guy. I can see why he's in this team. Freiberg, I think the great thing about him is, in basketball, we have a term called irrational confidence guy. He's the guy who thinks he's better than he is. But as a result, sometimes when he's on fire, he actually plays better than he should.
Thought you were going to make some sort of American joke in general on that one. Thank you.
Sometimes, though, the thing is, you can only have 1 or 2 of those guys. They've got one of them. But as a result, when he's playing like that, he thinks he's the 4th star of this team, Exist, he's someone who's come under question because when they were winning, people said, okay, I'm not sure what strategies he's using because Forrest and Get Right killing everyone, so I guess he's a good tactics leader. Then when they're losing, they go, oh, see, that's why they don't have any real tactics. They need the stars to carry them. Well, we saw against Very Games, they didn't win by just bullying Very Games. Very Games were matching them skill-wise, but Exist came up with the plays. He came up with the new approaches. He came up with things that would catch Very Games off, who are a team who study you. They have all the breakdown. I think Exist, he's really the man who allowed NiP to get just over the edge against Very Games.
Thank you, Thorin. Let's head on up to the Dream Arena to hear from Get Right.
Thanks a lot, guys. Of course, here we have Get Right from NiP. We've seen what you've done in the past. We've watched you evolve over time. Got a little echoing going on, but we've seen what you've done in Counter-Strike for a while. What you've done lately, some really great matchups throughout the entire
I've got
tournament.
some good stuff for that.
And it was we can hear from all different sides. So let's go ahead and hop into the Very Games matchup and what happened there on the first map. It was a nail-biter, but how did you guys pull through that one?
Nice. I'm not sure really what happened in Dust 2 game. I just know that we were playing our own game and just won the match fair and square.
That's happened because of you.
No, but like we play our A game pretty much on Dust 2. And I think that we just own them.
So going into the second map, though, that was a little bit of a different story. It was a little bit more difficult to get through, and honestly, you're at a point, I believe the score is 11-4 in the first half, or even 12-3 at the first half. What's your thought process going into the second half? Do you sit there and check that map out, even though you had one map ahead, or do you sit there and say, let's try to grind this one through?
We know that we have really, really good CT half, and we can just make a huge comeback. And when we won the pistol round, I felt that it's going to happen. And when, unlucky for us, it didn't just happen. But we knew Nuke is coming up, and that's our strongest map against Very Games.
So these past couple months, these past few months have actually been a little bit more difficult for NiP. We've seen the reigning terror, the dynasty that NiP has set from earlier years, from Counter-Strike 1.6, but then we saw what was happening here on the early stages of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But we've noticed the past few months that there's been a little bit of rockiness. Has that changed for this tournament?
Most of the people that follow CS knows that we've been skipping a lot of tournaments just for this. And I think the result of boot camping for 3 weeks has been given like a proof here, especially against Very Games, as we have had a tough time against them the last 3 games. I just hope we can go the whole way.
So one of the things that we look at too, of course, we're getting really serious about everything right now. So that's what it seems like. But we've seen that one, you have a house, an NiP house, a gaming house, and 2, we also see that TV6 has been following. We've seen that there's a documentary being done about NiP. How has this been affecting your gaming style?
I think it has been affecting me more than everyone else in the team because I felt that they were going too much into my life sometimes. But I hope that everyone has a laugh at me pretty much at Siri, so it's okay in the end.
So you said that you've been boot camping. What did you learn through that process of boot camping to prepare for this event, even prepare for this grand finals right now?
Oh, there's so many things, but we were really, really honest against each other and gave them like, if you're playing bad, and how did you play bad in that situation, for example, and we've been really hard against each other and said to each other like, you're nothing good. You're nothing. Fuck. You're not good in that situation, and you have to really rethink what you have done and start to think about new ways to actually play the game. And I think everyone has really taken that in account and just started to evolve a new gaming style pretty much for them.
So I mentioned the gaming house. I know you guys are a bunch of brothers. I mean, for the most part, before you even got into the gaming house, has it brought you closer now that you've been in the gaming house for so long?
No, I hate my teammates now. No, actually, I love them all. And like, for example, Robin is my bigger brother. Forrest has always been my teammate for many years. I'm thankful for that. And Freiberg, happy Freiberg. Nothing else to say. And Exist is the coolest guy ever.
I knew we forgot somebody. You can't forget about Exist, though. So one of the things, okay, as we're getting ready here for this matchup, it's something interesting to me. So I always pay attention to different parts of the gaming experience. There's different ways that gamers get ready. For most of us, we sit there, we hop into an aim map, right? We'll sit there and we'll pop in our headphones and listen to some type of music that we're used to, sometimes classical for me. But for you, there's different styles. I noticed through across there, getting ready for the very games matchup. What were you doing getting ready for that matchup?
I was watching highlights of myself. And I guess, yeah.
So watching games, of course, we mentioned it, watching you probably, and I agree with Thorin on this. I agree with Thorin on very little, but I agree with Thorin on this, that you are one of the best players in Counter-Strike Global Offensive today, of course. So going into this one, I can understand how you're watching some of your own highlight reels and getting ready. One of the things I also mentioned too, I was watching Forest as well as Freiburg. They're both playing surf maps as well to prepare. And there is a reason for that, but it's good to see him. Do you have any last things that you want to say before we get into this matchup?
I'm gonna take it in Swedish though. Hej allihopa, tack för att ni vill komma hit. Och jag hoppas få känna av bra match det kommer bli. Och jag hoppas självklart att ni hejar mer på oss än eller Fnatic menar. Haha.
That's Get Right for you. Let's go ahead and send it right back to you guys back in the booth.
Thank you for that, Corey. The biggest game in Counter-Strike history is drawing near, but before we send it back up to the casters to go live, we need to talk about maps. Thorin, what do we know about the maps in this match?
The first map, Dust 2, second map, Inferno, third map, Train. So first map, Dust 2. Here's the key thing. This was the one that NiP closely won over Very Games. So, okay, they're testable on that. It's one of their worst maps, if you can have a worse map if you're NiP. Also, NiP lost Dust 2 to LGB. So there we are. They've already been upset by a Swedish team. Here's the problem, though. Fnatic also lost it to Reclusive. So I have to kind of weigh that up a bit. Do you want me to give you who I think the better team on it?
No, I think we're going to have an old man advantage here for the predictions.
Go for it then.
Well, no, old man advantage means he gives predictions first.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
I'll give you my predictions.
I like how you played. Well played, sir.
Work with me here.
I mean, listen, I'm not paid to hype the match up and give you a fake match that's going to be epic. I'm paid to be good and sound like I know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to tell you, NiP's going to crush this 2-0. I'd be surprised if Fnatic even gets 10 rounds on both of these maps. I think NiP crushes them 2-0. There you go.
And again, to our little...
And what's the score?
We're all tied up 9 and 7 each with our predictions. So the unfortunate thing is we're both picking NiP. So, but I do think, and I think some of the interview was lost on both sides, I think it's incredibly important to note that Fnatic was in China. They're not feeling well. They said in the interview, again, if you didn't hear that, some of them are sick. You know, they've been on the road, right? Whereas NiP intentionally dropped out of that tournament to stay home and practice. And it's a double-edged sword as you run a team, because the more you send your team out, and obviously Fnatic and Beat It are very tight with MSI, they had to go. But it's that exposure versus your team properly preparing, and it's a battle as an owner you always have to debate. Heaton said, nope, not going anywhere, you're staying home and getting ready. So we both think NiP, but I think, and it will be our tiebreaker, so to speak, it'll be 3 maps. It'll go 3, but NiP.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about how the maps will play out here,
Yeah, sure.
or at least in your opinion?
I gave you Dust 2 there, and why I think, like, even the positive of NiP having lost to LGB, I think overall the Reclusive loss kind of takes that away. So I think NiP, they have the advantage on that map anyway. Plus last summer when they played them, they smashed them on that map. So again, good setup. In terms of Inferno, this is the best chance for Fnatic, okay. Their win over Cole was very impressive. Meanwhile, we saw NiP lose that quite heavily to Virtus Very Games. We saw them in a close match against Reclusive in the group stage. So I think that's a potential area. But again, I think NiP can be incredible on Inferno too. If it were to get to 3 maps, okay. The problem is, if it were to go 3 maps, I think Scoots is going to be right even on that account, because it's going to be 2-1, because NiP have basically left themselves with their better map for the last one. We've seen what Train, you can't win against NiP on Train, I'm sorry.
That was kind of a John Madden American sports moment. If it goes to 3, it's going to be 2-1.
No, I mean to NiP.
Oh, okay. All right, just double checking.
No, I mean if it goes to, basically I think Fnatic can only win if they 2-0. I think they're going to get 2-0'd, and I think the third map, it's NiP's no matter what. So I'm going to go 2-0. Heavily, I'm going to go for the favorites here.
Who has to come up big for Fnatic for them to even have a chance?
Sadly, when you've got 2 stars like NiP does, even the stars of Fnatic don't necessarily meet at the same level. So I'm afraid I think all the stars of Fnatic have to come up really big. That doesn't necessarily mean the NiP guys have to fail, but I think everyone has to Fnatic. If they win this, it'll be a legendary result. But legendary results will have like once-in-a-lifetime performances, incredible stuff. If that can happen, obviously they can get to 3 maps, they can maybe push it, they can maybe even win one outright. But again, that's going to require legendary stuff, so we're talking about playing above your level here.
And this is definitely where legends are made, because we talked a little bit about it. NiP famously going 87-0, already the most dominant team in history. But Scoots, who's going to remember that if Fnatic takes this 100K in the $250,000 tournament here at the DreamHack Steel Series CSGO Championships?
Well, I mean, I think it just becomes a footnote in the story of NiP's little struggles, right? I mean, again, best team in the world, and Very Games thumps on them a little bit. And again, they don't want second place. They got, like I said, all the pressure, the crew, the house. I mean, they have so much on their shoulders to have to win this. Second is not good enough for either of them. But I think if Karn gets second and that team gets second, they're a little bit like, all right. But if they get skunked, like he thinks, and get thumped really bad, that is not going to be good. So obviously, they got to play it close at least to be happy with a second place.
We're going to send it to our casters in a moment to go live in this match, but we need some final thoughts. Thorin?
Okay. I would say like this. If you're Fnatic, you're not even thinking about winning or losing. You're just thinking, play to our level. Then we'll see what can happen, okay? For all we know, one of the NiP players has a really bad game. Maybe NiP has chosen the wrong approach. They've underestimated us. You have to let them do what they're going to do. Don't think about second, don't think about first. Just play to your best. And for NiP, they're thinking to themselves, whether they admit it or not, we beat the hardest team in this tournament. We won the game that was the real final. But listen, if you mess this up, that not only doesn't matter, you look like a fool.
What do you think about championship experience coming into play here? You talked a little bit about that Fnatic has played in front of a crowd before. To the viewers who are sitting at home, they're not at these tournaments, they don't know how the matches are played, etc., etc. Can you explain a little bit to them about the difference with playing in the tournament area, where it's reasonably quiet and you have a reasonable amount of space, as opposed to going up there, sitting in front of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 screaming people? What's the difference there?
Anyone who's ever gone to someone else's house and they say, hey, you can have a play on my computer while I'm doing something, you sit down, and even if they have the same mouse as you, they have the same keyboard, it feels wrong, okay? You'll do badly, yeah, it's not my setup, you know. That's what competitive CS is like. Every level is a stage and environment you have to get acclimatized to. So, okay, you come from being this online superstar, you get to the LAN, you have to lose a few times, you have to get used to playing there. Eventually, after you've had enough time, like Fnatic's starting to get, you get actually good at being able to just play your game in the actual tournament area. Now, stages are a totally different matter. Once you get to the big stage, you need experience there. They've got a little bit there. They've had some in the Beat It tournament as well. NiP has all the experience. They're used to being in the final every single tournament. For them, playing on the stage in a final is like me or you playing in our bedroom. And the advantage we have and that really comfy chair and the nice internet. That's what it's like when they're on stage. They're not worrying about like losing. They're thinking like, I just play my game. They're going to be worried about the stage environment. I worry for Fnatic when it comes to that environment, not for NiP. They're solid.
Scoots. Forrest played his first international grand final match in 2005 on a beach in South Korea. I know this because he beat me. How would you, as an ex-manager, calm one of your players if you're seeing them visibly nervous here in front of this huge, huge matchup?
I mean, and again, every player's a little different. Some guys don't want you in their face. Some will take your reassurance. You almost have to tell them, like, pretend you're at home or pretend you're back in the tournament area. Don't worry about what's on the other side of that monitor, the screaming fans. And again, especially if you're Fnatic, because that crowd, I think, is going to be very NiP heavy, even though they're all Swedes. But you got to block it out. I mean, and again, NiP has done this for years, not just a year or so. So again, the experience level definitely falls to NiP on that as well.
The thing is, though, I think if these Fnatic guys can start to do some convincing stuff, they can really sting NiP, they can actually turn the crowd against them. That's the thing. It's not only a NiP crowd. They can potentially get that going for them, and then they'll get the respect.
All right, we have 10 gamers fighting for their place in Counter-Strike history here. Any moment now. We're going to send it up to our casters. Have an enjoyable game, guys. This is the big one for $100,000.